Good afternoon. At this time, we will call to order our public hearing, and this is the first public hearing on the fiscal year 2019-2020 tentative budget. At this time, I will actually, I have a script that we go by and that I have to read. Thank goodness I have plenty of practice at this. I will also then pass it on to the administrator who has a part in the script, and then I'll close from there. Mr. Administrator, did I miss anything in the introduction of the public hearing?
No, you did not, Mr. Chairman. I should say that this is a script that is prescribed by Florida statute, so bear with me. And it goes as followed. The proposed aggregate millage rate is 8.8144 mils, which is 1.95% over the aggregate rolled back rate of 8.6459 mils. Ad valorem revenues will increase due to an upturn in property values and will be used to support the following: enhanced support for law enforcement, including additional deputies and support personnel, sustaining a high level of county-wide service delivery, sound fiscal planning to avoid fee increases for fire services, EMS, solid waste, and a continued community investment in our parks, greenways, roads, and sidewalks. Commissioners, you have provided much guidance to this point in the process. I'm going off the script now, and obviously all the guidance that you have provided thus far at the various stops, and as you well know, we start our process very, very early. All of that is reflected in the budget before you today. Just in case you wanted more, Mr. Rosenzweig is ready with a budget presentation that should not last any longer than about an hour and 45 minutes. If you would like it, actually he does have a brief presentation if the commissioners would like to hear that. But with that, that does it for us. After the chairman is done with the remainder of the required speaking points, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Mr. Chairman.
All right. I am required to recite the paragraphs, so I'll go ahead with that. This is the first of two required public hearings on the Leon County budget for fiscal year 2019-2020. The second and final public hearing will be Tuesday. That's next Tuesday, September the 24th, 2019, also at 6 p.m. If you wish to speak, please complete a speaker's card and turn it into the clerk at this time. All right. All right, so noted, at this time, the individuals that have turned in a speaker card to the clerk are allowed to speak. You have those cards in the queue, Mr. Administrator.
We do. I have one speaker card, Mr. Michael Rosenthal.
Mr. Rosenthal, if you would, name and address for the record.
This microphone? Yes. Hi, my name's Michael Rosenthal at 4045 Kilmartin Drive, Tallahassee, Florida. And I'm here to speak on your budget. Spoke here several years ago, many years ago, and I have the same complaint now as I did then. And that is, even if you don't raise the millage rate and our home values are increasing, we pay more in taxes. Now, homeowners don't benefit from rising home values until they sell their home. So why should the county be benefiting? So I would like to ask you to use the rollback millage rate and show some compassion on homeowners. And the other issue was salary increases or cost of living adjustments for employees. Back for the city, I tallied up all the pay increases between 2008 and 2013, and I found that they got a 18.5% increase in their incomes in that time period, whereas median family income only went up 4.18%. And the county had a similar, almost a similar rise as the city in their incomes. And this doesn't seem fair. I know people talk about social justice, and this really isn't a just thing. And I think you have to, when you're giving out pay increases, that the government is not doing better than the citizens. And I hope that you could all reflect on that when you making these calculations in the future. I heard the phrase, it's a government for the people, by the people, but we actually have for the government, by the government. And so just try to be more fair in the future. People have a very low regard for politicians in general. I'm not singling you out. I know Congress, people just have contempt for the people in Congress. And it's pretty much around the world. There's a lot of unrest in the politics around the world. It's because government isn't listening to the people. And so just please have compassion on taxpayers and be fair and be just. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it is appropriate at this time to recognize commissioners in queue to speak prior to my next script, correct? All right. Commissioner Deloge.
I'll weigh in real quick just to say we budget just about every month of the year, so this is not a moment in time. This is kind of the culmination of a lot. And to Mr. Rosenthal's comments, we're not the city. Let's start with that. I walked in here 13 years ago. We had a $284 million budget. We have a $274 million budget today by my calculation. So I don't know of a lot of families that live on less over a 13-year span. We're 100 less FTEs than we were. We are the lowest per capita budget per constituents in the state. We are the second lowest, if I remember correctly, in employees per constituents in the state. So it means we run probably one of the leanest, most efficient counties in the state of Florida, out of 67 counties. So although your comments are well taken, they're in a moment in time, and I think you have to step back and look at the forest for the trees, but thanks. You don't want a motion until we're through all of this, all right? Okay, I just felt like it was worth it.
Yeah, we'll entertain a motion after comment. Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Lowe said it first, but I'll reiterate, our budgeting process I'm really impressed with. We have the opportunity to be involved in several different budgeting processes through different organizations and boards that we're on. But I would venture to say the county, Leon County does it the right way every time. And I wanted to give staff the credit and the kudos for the budgeting process that you all put together. I remember back in 2010 when Commissioner Dozier and I were running for office, sitting during the budget meeting, and the board was here until midnight. Literally, till midnight. I left early, and former Commissioner Thales sent me a text message that said, "What, you're not tough enough to stay around?" I said, "No, sir, I'm not." So I wanted to give staff credit for the job that you're doing with our budgeting, the fiscal responsibility that you take in presenting a budget to us. And I wanted to credit this board for being fiscally responsible over the years. I know we are in a decent time right now, but hard times may come soon. I think we're doing the right budgetary things to make sure when those hard times come that we'll still be able to run as an efficient organization. You know, there's plenty of opportunity for us to load up the budget with more positions and different things we can do. But I think staff's recommendations to us and our foresight in what could come in the future has led to us making some pretty good, sound fiscal decisions that I think if the worst should happen, we are prepared from a fiscal standpoint. So I wanted to put that on the record and again, just appreciate Mr. Long and his staff for what they do for us and the board for being as fiscally responsible as you are. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Maddox. Seeing other commissioners in queue to speak, we will proceed. It's necessary for me to do each of these by script. I think I learned this under Commissioner Maddox last year. Florida statutes requires the board to address the millage rate before addressing each budget. The board must vote on each millage rate and budget separately. I will now entertain the following motions. 1, adopt via attached resolution the tentative fiscal year 1920 countywide millage rate of 8.3144 mils.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Deloge, seconded by Commissioner Maddox. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Adopt Item 2, adopt via attached resolution the tentative fiscal year 1920 countywide budget. Moved by Commissioner Maddox, seconded by Commissioner Deloge. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Motion 3, adopt via attached resolution the tentative fiscal year 1920 emergency medical services MSTU millage rate of 0.5000 mils. Moved by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Maddox. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Motion 5, I will now entertain a motion to direct staff to advertise in accordance with the Florida statutes, tentative millage rates and budgets for fiscal year 2019-2020, and the date, time, and place of the public hearing to adopt the final millage rates and budget for fiscal year 2019-2020.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Deloge and the quick-thinking Commissioner Minor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. I'm sorry. Yes, option 4, adopt via attached resolution the tentative fiscal year 1920 emergency medical services MSTU budget. Moved by Commissioner Minor, seconded by Commissioner Lindley. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion passes. Mr. Administrator,
We have nothing further on that item. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much.
very good. Moving forward with the public hearing, item number 26.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, item number 26 seeks your, it requests the board to conduct the first of 2 public hearings to adopt the Second Amendment to the Falls Chase Development Agreement, removing the requirement to construct a national drug store at the Falls Chase Village Center. This has been requested by the developer and agreed to by the Buck Lake Alliance. We have no speakers on this item. We're recommending options 1 and 2.
Commissioner Maddox, in queue to speak.
I just wanted to give credit to Commissioner Proctor's negotiating skills through the Falls Chase Agreement, and to see that it's thriving the way it is. I would like to say it's all because of you, Commissioner. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Do we have a motion? Okay, Commissioner Lindley has moved. Comment from Commissioner Dozier. We did get a second, correct? Okay.
We have the, okay. Appreciate your comment, Commissioner Maddox, but in recent years, I do want to give credit to Buck Lake Alliance and Jerry Miller particularly, who has stayed engaged with our staff, I think in a very constructive way. There used to be a lot of big battles over this, and these items move pretty smoothly now, and I think that's to a lot of credit from the staff and from those like Jerry who really want to come to some consensus with us. So thank you all for the efforts. It wasn't easy to get here. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Dozier. With that said, we have a motion on the floor with a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Mr. Administrator, item number 27.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is your first and only public hearing to consider the Fifth Amendment to the Southwood Integrated Development Order. The amendment would allow education/industrial uses on a proposed 10-acre parcel located on the south side of Tram Road for the future home of the Tallahassee Classical School. We're recommending option 1. We have no speakers on this item.
Moved option 1 by Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Deloge. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes. Mr. Administrator, do we have any citizens to be heard on non-agenda items at this time?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 speaker cards in.
All right. We'll entertain the first name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes at the podium.
The first speaker is Richard Edwards.
Richard Edwards. I live at 2020 Longview Drive. This is about the holding pond again. I've been up here once. And it's about Mr. Furman and his property. And I know you said that there's no correlation, but every time the pond came up, he had water coming up under his house. And it just seems to me that it's connected because every time the pond came up, he had water under his house come up from the ground. And it just seems like to me there is a connection there. And I think that, I know years ago, they put the holding pond in, and now we have a sinkhole. And I think if the sinkhole wasn't there, the holding pond wasn't there, we wouldn't have a sinkhole. And if the sinkhole wasn't there, Mr. Furman wouldn't have damage to his property, and wouldn't have water coming up under their house. And that's my belief. I don't have any damage, and I don't have water come up under my house, but I'm right next door to these people. And I'm just afraid that, it's going to happen to me too. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Chairman, real quick.
Thank you. On point, Commissioner Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Edwards, thank you very much for being here. Mr. Furman and Ms. Furman, thank you very much. Mr. Furman had come to this board a few months ago about the same issue, and my Chief of Staff, Jody Wilkoff, and I have been to the House, I think, 4 times, and Brent has been there, I think, 3. It's a really difficult issue. You've got a county stormwater pond across the street with 2 sinkholes that have formed over the last several months. And Brent and an expert that we've hired have come over there and tried to assess the situation. The crux of the issue is that there's no evidence to show that the stormwater pond or the sinkholes in the stormwater pond have had a causal effect on Mr. and Mrs. Furman's property. In barring that, there's probably nothing that the county can do. But, so long as that causal link has not been established, until that causal link has been established, I don't think, based on Brent's recommendation and other staff that we've talked to and the expert, there's very little that the county can do.
Thank you, Commissioner Minor. I'm sorry, Commissioner Dozier.
Do we have other speakers on the sinkhole issue specifically? Just to put this in the record, Commissioner Minor, you've been deep into this, and I appreciate that, and we did have some discussion a few months ago. This is a challenging situation, but I just want to check the statement that the pond, but for the pond, there wouldn't be a sinkhole. This is not typical for holding ponds throughout the community. This is atypical. Is that right? We have holding ponds all over the place. Some may have sinkholes, some may not. We have karst features everywhere. There isn't a one-to-one connection necessarily with a holding pond. Is that right?
That's correct. This happens to be in an area of known karst features.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to check that because the comment stood out to me. So
Yeah, Mr.
thank
Chairman,
you.
real quick on point. And one thing that both Jody and I have mentioned to Mr. and Mrs. Furman is that, if there's a link established, I will be the first one to step up and look for the county to provide some relief to make them whole. If there's a link, if the county's responsible, directly or indirectly, then I'd be the first one to stand up and ask for some type of relief. Right now, there's no evidence to show that.
And thank you both. At this time, we have additional speakers on
Thank you,
the
Mr.
agenda items.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Melissa Villar.
You might have your name and address on the record by this point.
Yes. I'm speaking on behalf of the Tallahassee Community Action Committee. Our membership is, and really this probably should have been addressed to the budget item, but for, due to the recession when library hours were cut, all of the public libraries except the main branch and off Park are closed on Mondays. So, and this is, detrimental for students on that need a place to go on Mondays. Monday is the only day that they don't have access to library resources, AC, computers, where they can do their homework. So it's vitally important, if we can look at possibly how to shift funds just to increase, and if I understand we're working on a leaner budget, however, giving, community resources are vitally important, because then we're end up having to do it on the back end of providing community resources when juveniles get into trouble, left to their own devices. In that regard, having a place on Mondays, every single branch is closed except the public library, the main branch off Park. So if we can look into having Mondays reopen, we would love extended hours again, but, specifically on Mondays again, to have access for a safe place for our students to go. Thank you.
Thank you again. We have an additional speaker, Mr. Administrator.
Your final speaker is Michael Rosenthal.
Hello. My name is Michael Rosenthal at 4045 Kilmartin Drive. I am here today speaking to you as an ardent environmentalist about your recent banning of disposable straws. Leading law enforcement officials say that most homicides are due to straw purchases, so I could see why this is a very important issue to you. Good subtle joke there. I saw Commissioner Minor was encouraging people to use metal straws and even passed out straws to his fellow commissioners. On the way home that evening, I heard on the news a lady was using a metal straw, it tripped, and it killed her. And you passed them out to other commissioners. I hope you've had time to retrieve those metal straws from your fellow commissioners and save them until the next police straw buyback program takes place. And the other thing I saw was that Donald Trump's website started selling plastic straws with the Trump name emblazoned on the side, and they sold $500,000 worth of these straws in just a few days. Is this the real reason you're banning straws? Okay. And rather than banning straws, maybe you should think about banning drinks that people drink with straws, because people don't drink coffee or whiskey with straws. So I think that might be an alternative idea that you could do. I don't use straws personally, but I just recently purchased a package of 300 plastic disposable straws. You might ask, well, why do I need so many? And I have a high capacity big gulp. And I also want to preserve my right to bear straws, because if straws are outlawed, only outlaws will have straws. And if you want to take my straws, I'll just have to quote King Leonidas and say, "Come and take them," or I could quote Charlton Heston, "From my cold dead hands." So, as an environmentalist, I don't support your straw ban, and I like to thank Commissioner Proctor for voting against it. And why don't you do something more useful, like reducing crime? You spent 45 minutes talking about this straw ban, and it's staff time spent on this. We've been #1 in crime for 5 years in a row. Why don't you talk about that for 45 minutes at every meeting? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other speakers to be heard at this time, Mr. Administrator?
We do not.
And this is a portion in the meeting where we have commissioner comments. I'll start with our county attorney.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, we had an attorney-client meeting earlier today, and as a result of those discussions, I need you at this public meeting to make a motion to give me instructions on how to respond to the settlement proposal.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we do not accept the settlement.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Maddox to reject the settlement, seconded by Commissioner Dozier. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Administrator.
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Minor, we'll start on that end and head this way.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I'm actually going to spice things up a little bit and talk about adult entertainment. If you all recall, Hustler Hollywood opened up a store recently on North Monroe at the old site of the ABC Liquors location. This is in my district. It's just south of the North Monroe interchange, which is the most frequently used entrance point into Tallahassee. More people come through that interchange than through the airport, through West Tennessee or Mahan. More people drive through that place than any place else. Even the Tallahassee Democrat recently referred to it as a corridor for sex stores. I've received feedback from a number of residents in the area concerned about the possible proliferation of adult-oriented stores in that part of town. At this time, it seems like Hustler Hollywood is compliant with the law, but neighbors who live in that part of town would like to explore options for both the county and the city. It's in the city limits, but both the county and the city to mitigate the proliferation of adult-oriented stores in any one concentrated area. We must respect property rights, of course, and I recognize that the property owners are entitled to lease their property to any legal business that complies with land use regulations. At the same time, though, Leon County residents should have a say in how their community takes shape. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion for the county attorney's office to explore and to provide the board with options so that we can mitigate the proliferation of adult-oriented businesses in concentrated areas. This may include, for example, a prohibition of new adult-oriented businesses being established within a certain distance from existing ones. So that's my motion. I'd like to make a motion for that agenda item come up.
All right, motion's been made by Commissioner Minor. I won't try to capture all of it, but I think that we have the gist of it. I do have Commissioner Dozier, seconded by Commissioner Deloge. Commissioner Dozier in queue to speak.
I just need some clarification, Mr. Chair. Your motion, Commissioner Minor, is based on this one new store, is that correct?
Well, actually, this ordinance, whatever comes to us.
I'm sorry, but the calls you've been getting are based on this one new store, is that right?
Based on one new store, but in relation to, there's also concern about new stores opening up in that corridor.
Okay. Not that I've done any kind of inventory of this, but it seems like there have been other stores along that route in the past. There may be others that exist. I can't support the motion. I'm just going to let you know. I understand why this is so concerning for some people, but if we saw this like, frankly, I'll point out Dollar Generals. There are cities that are looking at how many dollar stores you can have within a certain radius because they suck up business from local businesses. Something like that had a different kind of impact. I didn't mean to digress into that. I just don't know if this is a big problem. I don't know how many stores we have to spend staff time on it. So that's just, I wanted to let you know why I wouldn't be supporting this, but I understand the concerns. Thanks.
Commissioner Deloge.
I
think it's appropriate to have a discussion when the county attorney comes back and says, here's what we can do, here's what we can't do. I wait and reserve judgment when that happens, but I think it's certainly worth exploring. That's why I said.
Commissioner Maddox.
Pretty sure there is, but is there precedence for this? I'm trying to figure out.
Yes.
So we're going to limit the number of stores that we can have? Okay.
Opening up a store that's, any type of store, I mean, it's a protected form of speech, but there's a precedent that other localities have used, which stands up to constitutional muster, about having a distance from one type of store to the next.
Oh, so
Of the
talking
same
about
type.
distance, so kind of like,
Yeah, so let's get into it.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, I don't think we're here to decide the policy. All we're doing is giving direction. Commissioner Proctor.
Mr. Chairman, can we include, what was the nature of the store?
You name it. I'm calling it adult-oriented. You can use more colorful language than that if you want.
Well, we got too many smoking stores in the south side, and I'm hopeful that, can we throw smoking stores in the mix of where there are too many? Can we look at that as well?
Mr. Attorney.
Commissioner, you do have the authority to provide certain setbacks and regulatory measures for things like the Hollywood Hustler or vaping stores or cigarette sales. I mean, you could say none within, and we have that with liquor stores. None, right now, none within 500 feet of a school or a church, not within 500 feet of each other. And those are the kinds of time, place, and manner restrictions that the courts have upheld. It just, if you have that desire to do that, so.
Yeah, I just think that we've had a proliferation of head shops, and we got one down in front of the post office, and right up the street, you got one right across from FAMU. You got others in the general vicinity. We just loaded with tattoo places and smoking places, and I think that we should. Things of what's that big word?
Proliferation?
That word right there, that we got too much of that.
Not to make too much of it, but mattress stores.
You throw mattresses in there, sure.
Commissioner Dozier, and I think the motion was made and then seconded by Commissioner Deloge to at least bring back what we can and can't do. It's not deciding policy tonight. Commissioner Dozier.
Mr. Chair, we do not need to belabor this too much right now. If the majority is there for an agenda item, we'll discuss this again. But what just happened here with mattress stores and vape stores and other things is a phenomenal slippery slope. We may not like all of the different stores. I got a much bigger problem with vape stores than I do, given the discussion right now on the health issue, versus this. And I hate to have to say this on the dais, but I will say there is a stigma, and each to their own. So if we've got 4 or 5 stores in town in the entire county, I don't know that, but I see extremely few of them versus vape stores or other things like that. But I think this is a really extreme slippery slope. More power to you. I respect the concerns and your motion, Commissioner Minor, but this, what just happened, I mean, we would be regulating all types of different businesses, and I think that gets into a real issue in the future. So I would hope that the motion stays to your desired topic. I will just put it that way.
Commissioner Minor on point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've heard a lot of concern from neighbors surrounding that store, general concern about North Monroe and the appearance that it provides to people that enter Tallahassee. I think it's a topic that's worthy of further discussion. So I hope you'll support the motion.
Well, on point, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Maddox, and then we'll come back to you, Commissioner Proctor.
Say something very similar to what Commissioner Proctor was about to say. I can't support this motion without also looking at, the number or the distance between the ABC stores on the south side, or like you said, the vape shops on the south side, or the convenience stores that just aren't really supposed to be patronized the way they're patronized and within the areas that I'm concerned with. So there's so many different industries that I can look at before I can get to this one, because it's just 1 or 2 or 3 or however many there is. I can't support this yet without also looking at all these other issues that I know that happen within the communities that have people in it that look just like me. So I can't get there yet unless we add all these other industries into it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think if this is a closed one topic limitation upon a particular nature of store, I can't support it. As far as I know, a bookstore is not hazardous to your health. As far as I know, a general bookstore, a toy store is not the same as some of the, I think even the President of the United States, I'm not saying a lot, had something to say about vaping last week, about smoking. I'm not even sure if there's a restriction on how old you have to be to walk in these stores. You have one a block from FAMU DRS, 2 blocks from NIMS Middle School, and on the corridor that heads up to Rickard School. And then you move up the street, and you have one directly across from FAMU. And again, I don't know, I never heard how young you could be to go in there. But this infringes upon health of the community, and I'm not sure what the the educational value of those stores with literature and whatnot, what that does. But my ask is one to include concern with youthful health, in particular the attractiveness of different flavors of vape and all that stuff. So, I mean, if it's not open to other subjects, then I can't support it either. I mean, I'm just waiting to hear your response. What's your motion?
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. I think I can maybe summarize it. We want to bring it back as a discussion item, and we talk about current policy, Mr. Attorney, as well as the distance between liquor stores and other policies that we have on record. Okay. Does that capture what you're looking for, Commissioner Minor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, if it means that I'm going to get enough votes to get a majority, then I'll accept Commissioner Proctor's friendly amendment to add that additional category in there.
Yeah,
I'd vote for
we need-
an
we need to
agenda
check
item
this.
to
We really need to
discuss
check
what you
this proliferation.
suggested and see where it goes. I mean, tonight, I'm open to an agenda item to discuss this
Okay.
further as opposed to right here, right now.
All right, so I think the motion is to bring back an agenda item where we can discuss what's currently in policy, and then, I guess, the development of new businesses that we have not had policy for prior to this time.
And we actually, Mr. Chairman, to be true to the nature of what I'm asking, the question came up, like the marijuana store is next door to the courthouse out on Thomasville Road, or between the courthouse and the liquor store is the marijuana shop, something like that. And, whether or not there would be an explosion of, head shops in the future and after next year's referendum passes in November. So it's not premature that we're looking at spacing business potential of different industries.
It's no other commissioners in queue to speak. Commissioner Maddox.
This is I think we just went from very particular to very broad. Because now we're looking at whatever industry. Look, I could be concerned about, can you articulate a few that we're going to look at? Because if we just open it up to everything, I mean, what exactly are we really looking at that point? I mean, we can look at grocery stores, Walmarts. I mean, if we're going to be specific, we can be specific. It's just there's a couple things that I believe that we can all probably think of that probably need to be checked. So I can vote for some specific stuff, but I can't just open the door and policy on everything, because I don't even think that gives staff enough direction to know what to come back with. So I can't support the motion, but I can support a motion. Thank you.
Commissioner Minor, anything to add to that on point?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My whole intent for this evening was to bring up the specific topic of adult stores. I hear a lot of complaints from neighbors that are very concerned about it. I think it's a topic worthy of discussion. Let's bring it up for an agenda item. Let's discuss the pros and cons. We can discuss other categories later. I'd like to focus on this specific instance. It's the issue that I've heard the most complaints about regarding this type of approach. So I'd like to hope you all will support the motion so we can bring it back and discuss it in more detail.
All right, I'm in queue to speak. I'm going to support the motion simply because I think that there'll be some comparative data to what we're already doing in some other issues in some other businesses, and I think that discussion will be important to all of us. So at this time, I think we're going to.
Is this a workshop? This a workshop?
We're going to entertain a agenda item based on Commissioner Minor's motion with the addition of the amendment from Commissioner Proctor. Was that yes or no?
No, he declined it.
Okay. Commissioner Minor's motion that was originally seconded by Commissioner Deloge. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, 5-2. 4-3, okay.
I oppose.
Okay, fails.
Right. Next thing, in July, I asked the county attorney to meet with me and Peter Boutine, Marilyn Wills, Ben Wilcox, and Catherine Bear. to discuss the ethics ordinance that we just recently passed. They offered some, what I thought were some very helpful tweaks to the ordinance that had just passed. And what I'd like to do is ask the county commission at a future time to have the county attorney. I've reviewed them. I like them. I think the county attorney's reviewed them. He likes them as well. We'd like to bring that up for a future agenda item. So I'll move that.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Maddox. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Yeah, that one passed.
And lastly, Dr. Pamela Hall was with us earlier today. I'm a new timer on the county commission, but I know she's worked with you and with county staff for years. Often, sometimes in disagreement, often in agreement, but at every step of the way, she's been very passionate about water quality, Colorado Springs, stormwater management. With that in mind, I'd like to propose a motion to honor her with a Dr. Pamela Hall Day, at a date that is convenient for her with her schedule. I asked Mr. Vince there. He said that we'd do it.
Proclamation.
Proclamation's fine.
All right, motion for proclamation recognizing outstanding work. Seconded by Commissioner Maddox. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm finished.
All right, Commissioner Proctor.
Mr. Chairman, I can't say enough about our staff. Just outstanding stuff that happened down in Woodville on Thursday at the sewer update for that community. Never felt better about being a county commissioner than to see the extraordinary work which had been done, the number of people who have were signing up, just the low stream, almost no rebuttal to the project. It was almost complete silence, as if couldn't believe it. It was the most calm meeting I've ever been in Woodville with citizens ever, which means that the homework of selling or promoting, advocating and telling and teaching the community about the great work of sewer coming to Woodville. I'm really just salutes to our staff, Vince and Alan and various public works department. Everybody was down there, engineering, and I'm grateful for that. And the people, I believe, men may little know what we say here today, but people will long remember what we have done as a commission. And one of the great pieces of work which we may have achieved in the last year or two has been the attainment of those grants, that money, which will go to potentially transform residential patterns, allow for affordable housing, potentially to bring about more commercial, robust economy in that area. So thank you, staff. Outstanding work. Secondly, I want to thank our staff for the Meridian in the Orange Avenue Park. I said earlier it was quick. Transformation was certain, and hopefully the rules that have been adopted will be abided by. Thirdly, Mr. Chairman, we have October 28th as the date scheduled. I believe that's on a Monday. And I'd like to ask if we could change that to the 29th to a Tuesday to look at the interviews for the finalists for the county attorney's position. I do have a conflict on Monday, the 28th of October.
Is that October?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know we had a schedule yet. Do we have it? Did we get a
It's
schedule?
at 2 p.m.
For October the 28th? Monday.
I'm just asking.
I don't have my calendar in front of me.
I'm just looking at the calendar, which we have on Monday, but on Tuesday the 29th, we have a 1 to 3, which is the workshop on Leon County Detention Facility operations. That Monday is just, I'm wondering if we can maybe look later in the week on a Thursday.
I think Tuesday is our regularly scheduled board meeting, so I think Monday is,
We have a workshop. Now, I'm asking if we can change Monday, the 28th, the workshop to conduct the finalist interviews for the county attorney position, if that could be changed to possibly Tuesday, early in the morning or something.
Mr. Administrator, can you comment on that for
If
us?
that's the will of the board, we certainly can. I mean, we can move some things. It is.
We have two workshops back-to-back, one on Monday, one on Tuesday.
We just have a tentative schedule right now that we brought to you, and we brought you the general outline.
I'll make a second. I would second Commissioner Proctor's motion that we move it to Tuesday.
Commissioner Dozier on point?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. I took those dates in the agenda item in, I guess it was July, as tentative, because that's how they were described in the item. So if those are firm dates, could you all please email us those dates, any other related, or we can look back if those are firm dates now, but we did not have that on the calendar because it was listed as tentative.
Yeah, we honestly were just getting to that point as well, just to see in terms of the number of applicants that we have and that sort of thing. Right, we were going to firm those dates up with a confirmation, but that's what we have tentatively scheduled still. But if you'd like us to move that tentatively, and we could firm up Tuesday as the time.
Does that require a motion, Mr. Administrator? Like,
I mean, he didn't make a motion, but, I mean, if we're all right here right now and we got a meeting on Tuesday anyway, I don't see why, unless.
We can start early in the morning,
Yeah.
and we can move our workshop, and we can go right up till county commission time, if need be.
I do teach some days at FAMU, and that's one of those days that I do teach on Mondays, and that would be a major conflict for me. I don't know about your jobs. And then to come back on.
If that's the direction of the board, we're very happy
2 days
to
in a-
accommodate that.
that's,
Yes, because depending on the number of candidates, they're going to be meeting with commissioners individually, they're going to be meeting with commissioners as a whole.
Well, then, how can we have an all-day plan and an all-day for this, and we also already have a half-a-day workshop?
I think what she's saying is,
No, we would cancel the workshop, and we would start early in the morning and go right up to 3 o'clock. Yes.
Mr. Chair, may I make a,
go ahead,
Because-
Commissioner Dozier.
because county administrator and staff are still finalizing this, you had not gotten back to us yet, can we leave this to scheduling and coordinating with individual offices at a later time instead of on the dais? And let them figure out what might work best for all of us?
Mr.
Is that acceptable?
Administrator, can we do that, or
Sure,
send out a
I'd be
date
happy
that's
to.
more firm?
Yeah.
All right. I think that, that kind of solves both problems. Thank you,
What
Commissioner Dozier.
was the problem solution?
That they would be able to move from the Monday date and find another suitable date, I guess imminently.
Okay.
Okay. I will go on record that Commissioner Deloge had it in his calendar, and he showed it to me. So he gets brownie and bow points for today.
Okay.
Commissioner Proctor.
Okay, yes, sir, I appreciate that. Thank you, Commissioners, for accommodating that ask. Along this line, on this, as I understand it now, that the sole persons who will be vetting the applicants for the county attorney's position is the county attorney and the county administrator. Is that accurate? Okay.
I would use the word screening, but that's what we're doing. We're screening.
Exactly, screening. I think that this process should be open up, and we should have a process that is less incestuous in the nature of that it embodies strictly and merely our current county administrator and our current county attorney to select the successor of the county attorney. I've been impressed with the approach. There are different approaches and models in which succession efforts have occurred. And I think that we should have broader representation than, in particular for the county attorney to be 50% of the voice in choosing his successor. In many institutions, I doubt if Coach Taggart will get a chance to choose his successor. And in many institutions, you don't get that choice. And I think that to give greater voice and range of input, I would certainly desire that we would look at that. I think we should broaden that up, Commissioners. What's your take?
Seeing no comment, I think that would have to be in the form of a motion. Is that what you're suggesting?
Okay, I wanted to hear if there was any.
Okay, no comments.
All right. I'd like to make the motion, Mr. Chairman, that we broaden the review of the county applicants for county attorney position, and that we would add more persons to diversify our reach, and those persons who are looking at the credentials and qualifications of our next county attorney. Not even sure what we're looking for, have not even seen a statement of what A, B, C, D, what our objectives are. So this process is a two-person get-together, and in the rest of the world, be damned. That's my motion.
Motion on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Motion dies for a lack of second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Woodville and Crawfordville one-way pairings are absolutely, is a tumultuous process underway in which the Florida Department of Transportation seeks to create a problem where one does not exist. I would like for an information item to come to our board that we might learn of what their projected ideas are. Petition receiving more than 400 signatures has occurred from citizens in that area against this. Not a person. I mean, even the great debate about the police station received people for the police station. I mean, people were for it. This road pairing, nobody, not one person has been found except Chipley, FDOT Chipley is for it. I've held 2 town hall meetings soliciting feedback, input from citizens in the South Side who use that road on a regular. Not one, not a person. I've never had unanimous citizen non-support for a project. And I think it's very important that the county commission hears the voices of citizenry. And the one-way pairing, believe it or not, creates a one-way from Gale Avenue up to Tram Road and FDOT's projected development of that road. And can you imagine that the state of Florida is going to, I got a call today, I think, from a person down there who said this would actually kill my business. But even not only that business, but the state of Florida is going to make a one-way pairing. And people, I mean, even the state of Florida is going to kill their own business because access to Doris Malloy's office will be impaired. People cannot go and pay their Florida Highway Patrol tickets or get their driver's license or their tags without being impaired. And I would like for that to be an informational item to come back to this body that you might see more clearly what's being imposed upon this community.
On point, Commissioner Lindley.
Yeah, is this a situation that the CRTPA board looks into
Yeah.
for a while? So you're asking just to have a report brought back to our board, basically on where the state and the CRTPA stand on this, or I don't exactly understand.
Right. I know the CRPTA on yesterday voted to ask the state to comment on the people's choice of a route, given that those 2 roads, those 2 streets historically have, their fault. Yeah. But I think as an informational item, there are 4 people, is it 4 or 3 of us on that CRPTA? But 3, but the majority, okay, the minority of the body may not be aware. And I think that is a public informational item. The county commission should be apprised. And if so, the county commission may even take a position that differs from the CRPTA, which includes Gadsden, Jefferson, and Wakulla representation. It's easy for them to support Chipley's direction, don't affect them.
On point, Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Proctor, due respect, you've been bringing up this issue for a while. The CRTPA board has, I think, reflected on it at the last 2 or 3 meetings. And if the full board wants an update, I think that would be great. Obviously, we can share information. This project goes back for a long time, as we discussed at CRTPA yesterday when it was presented, and check me on this, Commissioner Maddox, came up in 2011, I believe, as far back as that, and improved maybe in 15 or so, 14, 15. None of us liked the designs. This one-way loop was really challenging. But because of all the technical issues involved in it, the board went with it at that time. At that point, that was the go-ahead for FDOT to start applying money to it and buying right away. If we say that we do not want this project to move forward, we will lose funding for the Woodville corridor, not just this one area around Gale Avenue. We would lose millions of dollars going down to Capitol Circle and beyond on Woodville. And secondly, I think there is a real issue with access to the Gale Avenue neighborhood on the south side of Monroe Street, Woodville Highway. And in addition to sending a letter to DOT based on Commissioner Maddox's motion at the meeting, we also asked city and county staff, I think this is probably a city issue, to look at Meridian off of Tram Road by the fairgrounds, because likely that will be an access point to the neighborhood, and there may need to be road improvements. So we are concerned about that, but if we change anything about this project, we will lose millions, and it will not be applied in Leon County. So just wanted to share what, and I guess Commissioner Maddox and Minor could chime in if I got any of that wrong, but that is an update from the CRTPA meeting yesterday.
On point, Commissioner Maddox, and we'll turn to Commissioner Proctor to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During our last meeting, Commissioner Proctor spoke, as well as the young lady who gave us an alternative to the plan that has been accepted by the CRTPA and that FDOT is working on. We, as Commissioner Dozier indicated, have asked FDOT's opinion on whether or not it's a significant change enough to warrant a redesign and going through the whole process, by which, if we do that, as she indicated, we will lose the money. I'm hopeful, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I'm hopeful that once they see that the design falls within the realm of the actual project that they had designed, plus saves the state money, that they'll be willing to entertain the option without having it be considered a significant redesign. So, all this probably, I guess a status report wouldn't be bad. I don't know what Commissioner Proctor, he can speak to if he wanted us to have a full discussion on it, or just a status report back to us to see what we're dealing with here. But it is something that the CRTPA is working on and is receiving a opinion from the state on what we can do and what we can't do, and what the actual implications of what we do might be as concerning the money, which is about $12 million that's allocated for the project. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Proctor.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw the motion. Thank you. Moving right along, I guess this is what democracy looks like. Follow us or lose your money. That's a great feel that the intelligence of a community, its ideas, can't be brought forward without losing your money. So if that's democracy, we'll live with it. Thank you all so very much. Earlier tonight, Dr. Hollifield mentioned that there was not a black woman on the TMH board of regulating this hospital. I don't know, and I have not checked on that, but if, in fact, that information is accurate, I support the comments and amplify what Hollifield has said. I imagine our budget, which we tentatively have adopted tonight, includes public dollars that will support it. I imagine that the city somehow undergirds and offers support, and there's just no way that in a community with the tremendous diverse talent that we have, that this outstanding institution could coincidentally at this time not have any representation from women. I've unfortunately had to go to the hospital too much this year supporting family members, church members, stuff. And there are plenty of black women in there as patients, black women having babies, cleaning up, changing beds, nursing, providing medical care. But they're all across the hallways, down in the food court, lots of black women. And I can't believe that there's not a black woman in the boardroom. We're everywhere but the boardroom. That's very sensitive to me. Dr. Hollifield's mother, the late Millicent Hollifield, was a nurse, and if I'm not mistaken, was the head nurse of Florida University Hospital. He speaks from an advantage and a background of your mama being a nurse. I hope that we could, I personally will not ask this board to do that, but I amplify Hollifield's thoughts, and I'm going to look into it, and I think that it deserves to have diversification. And then Commissioners, Mr. Hollifield also said that the Tallahassee Democrat didn't have any blacks on their editorial board. And I know that we do purchase, we spend county dollars, we purchase a whole page at least once a month. With the Democrat, we're one of their standard patrons. And what he's saying to us is that we have, as a customer, as a patron, we have a voice, and it's up to us to utilize that voice, and that we are a customer, and a major customer, and we provide news to that paper, some of which may be published tomorrow from this dais. What we do here makes news in that paper, and the monies that we buy, and we should have diversity on the Tallahassee Democrat editorial board. And I wouldn't trouble this board with such lift as that. I know that's not in your spirit, but that's something that I will follow up on as well. Our community needs to be represented in its institutions in every way, and every level, to have diversity. And we're in 2019, and yes, we've come a long, long way, but we can't begin to retrogress simply because Trump is the president. We ain't going backwards, and we should stand up for that which is progressive. And we're voting taxpayers' money and spending our money at a private entity like TMH, and spending the taxpayers' money with Tallahassee Democrat. We absolutely just got to have diversity, because all of that money, 35% of these people in Leon County is black. So we're putting a lot of money on the table, and our institutions that we're dealing with should reflect that. And I'm hoping that that pool that brings up county attorney applicants ain't going to be just lily white. We got to have diversity. I'm asking for it. This community deserves it, and I'm hopeful that there will be candidates that this county attorney and this county administrator will see fit to bring forward. I'm not going to sit through an all-white finalist list for county attorney. I'm not going to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Proctor. Commissioner Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, our annual proclamation recognizing October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, to be presented next week on September 24th. I'd like to make a motion.
Second. Made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Great motion.
Thank you. Also, this is simply because we haven't really heard an update in a year. The CRA Arts Grant was approved a year ago, July, and it's TDC funded, and I don't believe any money has been expended yet, or maybe for some or not all the projects. I just wouldn't mind a status report updating us on the status of the grants and the 3 projects.
Mr. Administrator, got that?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
And Mr. County Administrator, I know we talked about this yesterday or on Friday, but one thing I didn't mention is once these projects come to fruition, I hope county is also notified. We're no longer on the CRA. It was a CRA grant, but it was a joint project with the city. So I just want to keep us in the loop with that. Sorry, Mr. Chair. So is that a motion?
I don't think, does it require a motion? Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, do we have a second to the motion? Seconded by Commissioner Deloge. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by the same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you. I've been struggling with a little something for a little while, and this is one of those things I wish I didn't have to bring up on the dais, but we're under sunshine. Breaking today at 5:30 was relatively early for how we've been, maybe for the last year or more. I just wanted to toss it out there. If we don't want dinner, to shorten the meeting and let everyone go early, I think that's a good option, but we are leaving everyone with a very short amount of time for dinner, and I'm just wondering about the cost for that versus being consistent. We had speakers in the lobby tonight, everything else. It's the chair's discretion, but I needed to voice this tonight just to so that we're reflecting on it, and maybe we can see some consistency in the future instead of, if we want to go all the way till 6, that's fine, but just kind of some understanding about that before we get into the meetings may be helpful.
Duly noted, but certainly the more items we put on the other side, then...
It's going to go later, yes,
Yeah.
sir. We don't go to
I'm glad
midnight,
that
as Commissioner Maddox said earlier.
I'm also glad that you mentioned it's been happening for over a year, because that would go back into someone else's reign as
I
chairperson.
don't believe it was just you, Mr. Chairman, and I think many of us have tried when we're
No
chair
offense.
to wrap up general business before we go to dinner. I think we're just on a slippery slope, and it's, if we don't want to do dinner, why spend the money? And
Yeah.
let everybody go home a little earlier, so I just needed to voice it. So that's just a comment, since we can't talk about those things outside of here. The last two things, one, yes, the things we do for great causes. I will not be rappelling down buildings this year or getting on stage with Reader's Theater. Forgive me, Commissioner Deloge. I will be Dancing with the Stars for Legal Services in North Florida. So that's 20 dance classes. We're already in it. Should be fun. So, Ms. County Administrator, I know you all got an email about it today, but thank you for that. Legal Services is an organization we've supported for a long time. So, yeah, we'll be doing that. The big one that I wanted to share with you is I hope you've seen the information recently about the 850 Hemp Summit. I know that Gary emailed everyone. Industrial hemp, this is not in the medical marijuana area, not even really much in the CBD oil and all that conversation. Industrial hemp can make over 25,000 products, plastics, paper, fiber, other things. So on October 2nd, there's a full-day hemp summit. Cannabis director and people from around the state who are involved in this, from the rulemaking to research. We also have a bunch of entrepreneurs coming in and to talk about economic development in the region and attracting manufacturers. This is a job creation opportunity for manufacturers, and we have our colleagues in Gadsden, Calhoun, Liberty, Jackson, and other counties very interested in getting their farmers into the business early and attracting processors and manufacturers, which is workforce development for all of us. So wanted to mention it here, just give a plug, and hope to see some of you there. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. That's all.
Thank you. I will respectfully decline any request you have for me to repel from anything higher than the dais.
I'm not doing it anymore.
Commissioner Maddox.
Mr. Chair, I just have one thing. I attended a meeting with the mayor as well as Reverend Holmes in the Task Force for Removal of Racial Restrictive Language, and they asked that we pass a resolution that the resolution will reflect the removal of racial restrictive language in all residential recording instruments on real property in the city of Tallahassee and Leon County. I'm asking for the resolution to be passed today so it can be delivered to them for a September 30 deadline. I have a copy of the resolution here. If I can't get it passed today, I'm willing to have it come back next week. They've asked for it prior to September 30th.
Yeah.
We're meeting the
So
24th.
I'll make a resolution that we just entertain it next week.
Second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
I'll give that to the county attorney. Secondly, great meeting, Mr. Chair. It's good to be back from break. I can't say I haven't been busy because I've been extremely busy. But again, it's good to be back in the saddle and having these conversations and talking things over with you guys. I gotta say, I actually missed you. So, welcome back. Good job, Mr. Chair, today. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lindley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two really happy things and then one serious issue. And one is I want to congratulate the Hartsfield Elementary Chorus. These are third graders, mostly who have been invited to Carnegie Hall to perform. Their chorus performed sometime after the first of the year. And I went to Hartsfield the other day for their big celebration and heard these kids doing some of their presentation that they're working on. So this is really a wonderful opportunity for this school, which is one of the ones that is rather challenged in our community. They're trying to raise a lot of money to get those children to New York City. So I know the alums, including, I think Ben Pingree is a Hartsfield grad, and others will be interested in supporting these young people. He didn't graduate from Hartsfield. And we've got him. It's a quick study. The other one is Sable Palm Elementary launched its community schools program this past week, too. And this is a really great commitment, again, to a school that has a lot of struggles in the neighborhood. And this is a wonderful program that was started by former City Commissioner Gil Ziffer, actually brought it forward to this community. And the Florida A&M College of Education is a partner, the Florida State University College of Medicine, Children's Home Society, and of course the school district. So that's another really great program that I think a lot of people are hoping is going to really boost those children in their academic life and in their life in general. So really proud of those two moments that, as a non-school person, Commissioner Chairman, it was a lot of fun to attend. The other thing that's come up from several people lately is the use of toxic chemicals that DOT uses to spray roadsides, including those in Leon County. The commercial name is Roundup, but there's a lot of concern about that, and I've been getting mail from various folks who are interested in water quality issues and so forth about whether the county can request DOT or work with DOT to try to get them to cease using those particular products when they are spraying weeds and so forth along our roads. Could we get an agenda item to kind of follow up on what the status of that is? Because
Yeah, come back on the agenda item. No motion
Would you
required.
second that?
Mr. Administrator.
I'd like to find out where we are on that and if we have some leverage or authority on that one. Okay, thank you very much. That's it. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. You neglected one of our Hartsfield graduates right here on the dais, Commissioner Dozier.
Really? I had no idea. Let's see it.
So she has proof as well. All right, Commissioner Deloge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple quick things. So welcome back. I'd like a resolution honoring Bernie Waxman for 45 years at Florida State University, if that's okay. Okay.
All those in favor of the proclamation for Bernie Waxman, Coach Bernie he was when I was in grad school, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you. I ran with the help of Carrie and the TDC, article this weekend about trails. And the last part was a plea. If you would like to see some improvements, please let me know. And I've got a lot of response. A lot of it comes around signage and some clarity. But rather than just trying to pepper staff with stuff, I've kind of assembled a one-page, here's a list of kind of the asks. And none of it, in my opinion, is a huge lift, other than that's not us, that's the city. But I'd just like to see if I could ask staff to come back and respond to some of the, random requests I've got, if that makes sense. I mean, I could have just pitched all these over the transom. I'm trying to do it a little bit different way, if that's okay. So, and I just get, and then the last one, or not, Yeah, I've got some constituents who have contacted, I think most of y'all, the Ralstons, and they have some health issues relative to burning in the unincorporated area. And I'd like an agenda item brought back to at least explore what ordinances are available to us when people have health issues and their neighbors are burning and they are pretty much
Second that.
confined to the inside of their house.
Second that.
On point, Commissioner, or just a second.
Yeah.
So an agenda item to be brought back to staff. On point, Commissioner, or an agenda item brought from staff back to the commission. Commissioner Dozier, on point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I talked to the Ralstons for a while, a couple months ago, and thank you for bringing it up, Commissioner Deloge. One thing that stuck out to me, just to make sure that this is captured in your motion, was the size of recreational burn piles.
Right.
Looks very different in some counties versus others. I understand where our history has been, but it seems like there's some very legitimate things to explore here, and I want to compliment both Mr. and Mrs. Ralston for not wanting to limit people burning
Oh, yeah, and
outright.
I spent
Yes.
some time, my initial reaction was that maybe they were concerned about the prescribed burns that the plantations do, and they said, no, absolutely not. What we've got is issues where my neighbor burns, and my wife can't go outside because she's got a health issue. And this is not in small area, this is out in the rural part of the community, so. And I know there are sample ordinances around the state, so just if you come back with some ideas, that'd be great. And then lastly, Chris Klena, who has joined us. I don't think this is our first commission meeting here tonight. And if you noticed, I was the only one that had the attorney interviews on my calendar. I'd just like to point that out, you guys. Yeah, she was. We miss Brenda, but Chris has been a great addition, so welcome. Thanks.
We won't make you stand up. Normally, we make you stand up and speak for 3 minutes. But, all right.
Sing.
Commissioner Proctor gave me
Mr. Chairman, I
he wants
apologize
30
to this-
seconds.
to this board for omitting a major ask. And I know we've proclamation out, and you've allowed our quote of 3. I'm asking the board if you would support a proclamation for President Thrasher, Florida State University, on attaining just a stupendous achievement of being, I think, the 18th ranked public institution in America.
Good
And,
catch.
I'd like to seek your support for that.
Motion is made by Commissioner Proctor, seconded by Commissioner Maddox. All those
Not
in
for
favor?
next week's meeting, that we won't get information.
I feel like I should be able to present the proclamation, though, Commissioner Proctor. You have
No, we're
no
going
credence.
We'll go metal straws for it.
All collectively should present during proclamation. That's kind of.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Is that it, Commissioner Proctor? Thank you. I do have a couple of proclamations, so I hope that you'll be patient with me. I want to request a Healthy Start proclamation for October as SIDS month. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I'd like it to be on the September 24th if possible. If not, we can, yes, September 24th is our ideal date because of the event that they have. For the October 29th meeting, our Tallahassee Soccer Club had an incredible inaugural season, and there are lots of superlatives to go around, qualified for the playoffs, which is kind of unheard of, and I'd like to do a proclamation recognizing the team at the October 29th meeting. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And lastly, and importantly enough, a resolution that supports our Fallen Trooper designation project for public roadways. Trooper William Dyer fell victim to an untimely death due to a fatal health event while in the line of duty at the interchange of I-10 and Mahan Drive, and we would like to have a resolution to rename that interchange there for Trooper William Dyer.
What are the rules renaming?
We've worked it through the state, actually first contacted Senator Mumford, and then I think we've worked it, haven't we worked it to where we have it?
It's a state program.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead?
No, that's fine. I think you covered it. Yeah, this is a state program.
It
That's
doesn't go
all.
afoul of our naming, got it.
No,
Okay.
it does not.
But it does require a resolution from the local county.
Just wanted to make sure.
All right, that's all I have for you. I appreciate. Okay, all those in favor of the renaming that section for Trooper William Dyer, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by the same sign? Motion passes. That's all I have for you tonight. Move to adjourn, seconded by Commissioner Lindley.
Good meeting there, Mr.